Batman Begins is probably one of the most faithful movie tie-in games out there. The game follows the plot of the Batman Begins film from start to end with gameplay and even movie clips as cutscenes, while also keeping a balance on what should be played versus what should just be seen. For example, the story of Bruce returning to Gotham and building the Batsuit is turned into a quick cutscene due to it not suiting well to the overall game. Some movie games would take that as an opportunity to make an annoying minigame or ignore it entirely, but it's all covered here without being intrusive. The game also extends certain parts of the movie to make for more gameplay, like the Falcone section, which was 10 to 20 minutes in the movie, now being translated to around half an hour to an hour. When you sit down and play Begins, you'll notice that it feels a lot similar to the Arkham games in a lot of places, and almost feels like what a more linear Arkham game could have been like if it were released during the PS2 and Xbox era. Batman will use an array of gadgets with their own little puzzles or mini-games attached to them to open doors and activate switches to help move through levels. He is also equipped with batarangs, which this time around are strictly for puzzle and traversal use. An example of this is having to break a wooden plank that halts you in your path. This game also features a level-specific camera hacking gadget that allows you to hack into cameras to see where invisible lasers are. The gadget is sadly only used once. Due to this, it doesn't have an in-game model, but that doesn't stop Batman from attempting to look like he's doing something by force-choking the cameras. There are also 3 combat gadgets, which include the smoke grenades, used to stun enemies, flashbangs, used to stun enemies, and a high-frequency transponder which sends out bats and, you guessed it, stuns the enemy. Even though all of these gadgets do the same thing, they at least have a benefit of their own, except for the flashbangs. The flashbangs just stun, but the smoke grenades can sometimes let you perform an instant takedown on an enemy, and also stuns a crowd of enemies longer than the rest. Then there is the RF transponder. This puts more fear into enemies, which gives you a higher chance of having an instant finisher. That's another thing this game has, the fear mechanic. During battles, you'll see a heart rate monitor in the top left corner. If you're able to build that up and put enough fear into your opponent, you'll be able to perform a fear takedown, where a short cutscene of a demonic Batman horrifies his victim. Now I will admit, I didn't pull this off very often, and I couldn't really figure out how much I had to scare an enemy to even pull it off. I'm probably just going to leave that at my poor skill at playing, opposed to it being hard to do. I still feel that it needed a lot more work though, and it should have been much clearer to pull off. Now, Arkham Knight did do something like this with the multi-fear takedowns, but that worked very differently with you needing to do a silent takedown, which pretty much granted you multiple free takedowns in a combo. Now, this isn't completely related to the fear mechanics, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Batman is a complete psychopath in this game. During certain parts in this game, moments can happen where Batman will terrify some thugs or people of importance in a variety of ways. Like here, he trapped a claustrophobic man in a small shipping crate to interrogate him. There's also a part in the Arkham morgue where Batman can hack into the deathbeds and shoot the bodies out to horrify all the goons. Doing these actions within levels build up your reputation meter. The higher the meter, the easier the enemies in that level become to defeat in hand-to-hand combat from their immense fear of Batman. Hand-to-hand combat in this game is something that I would consider both similar but different to Arkham at the same time. In Begins, it works by having Batman sort of lock onto a single enemy, where you can punch and kick them while also blocking their attacks. You have a special button which normally does a finisher, but if you're in front of an enemy and jump and press it, you can vault over them and strike them down, but if you press it while already in the air, you can do an air kick. I feel Arkham did expand on this greatly, by letting Batman be able to free-flow his attacks across multiple enemies and build up combos that rewards the player with takedowns by playing well. It removes the block for a counter button, which is more engaging. The kick was removed due to it feeling really unnecessary to be a separate button, and it frees up a button to now have Batman quickfire his utilities around to knock enemies down. So while similar, there are still a lot of differences, and I would say Arkham took the best elements and expanded on them, such as gadgets having more variety in uses, combat being more refined, but I would like to say, I think Begins had the right idea with its fear system. If only it or Arkham could have expanded on it a little more, giving it a bigger role. Just like Arkham, Batman Begins has a variety of level types to play through, with those being the standard Batman levels, the Bruce Wayne levels, and the Batmobile levels. The Batman ones are your typical action and stealth levels, with puzzles in a similar vein to Arkham, with the Bruce Wayne levels being more or less the same, just with a cut-down character who has less abilities than Batman, as he's mostly in training and has much less gadgets with no Batsuit to protect him. Now, the Batmobile levels in this game are quite interesting. They're almost race-type levels where you have to get from one place to another in a set amount of time, with one set goal thrown in. This set goal is to destroy a certain amount of enemy vehicles, either being police or thugs. The Batmobile does control quite nicely, and even feels a bit like the Bat-Tank from Arkham Knight, with all the boosting, destruction, and similar handling. It honestly feels like Begins Batmobile was the base for the one in Knight. For a late original Xbox game, Batman Begins actually looks really good. It's got some nice quality, upscaled 480p textures, and proper 16:9 widescreen, opposed to the stretch 4:3 that a lot of games had at the time. The game's performance seems to not suffer from all this for the most part, only when things get way too intense from too many particle effects, like dust or flames. Now, despite the game looking great, it does come with the issue of the level blending in with the environment, and sometimes making it confusing on where you need to go. I had this happen a few times with vents and pipes that I had to climb across or through, but they just blended in with every other non-climbable pipe and non-usable vent in the level, making it seem like I'd missed something, and I would usually end up backtracking to see what I could have done wrong. I kind of wish that maybe climbable objects had their own shine or glow to them, so it would make it a little less confusing. Another confusing thing is these animations, like, what are they? Just look at Batman climbing this ladder. It's so dumb, but I love it. It seems like in this game you either get way too goofy animations or none at all. Now, being an older game, there are some things that haven't aged the best, and most of the flaws come from that, instead of being pure bad game design. Now, I'd say that this game is one of the most well-made from its time. One of the noticeable aging effects being the performance by the voice cast. Now yes, nearly all of the game's cast are the actors from the movie, which is quite impressive. But some of their dialogue can come off as a bit blocky, to say the least. Now, this was common in a lot of games back then, as movie actors would normally just quickly phone in their lines, with no effort just to get their paycheck, and that was that. So it's a bit disappointing in that regard, but sadly, not a surprise. Now, 2005 era voice acting is something that can be forgiven, but the biggest flaw about Batman Begins is the level design in the Escape Arkham mission. I will say, this level is my only complaint though, as the rest are good, which is quite rare for a game like this. I guess the only real complaint I could have for Begins' level design is the constant lack of checkpoints and health refills across the game, but it was never too bad. Anyway, I don't know what the team at Eurocom were thinking when they made the Escape Arkham level, but let me explain it. It's a stealth level, where you fail if you get caught. Okay, that's fair enough. A tough stealth level midway through is typical in these types of games. Here's where it gets bad though. When you get caught, the level doesn't end. Instead, the police force know where you constantly are, and will do everything they can to murder you. The issue with this is the game almost makes it seem like you can get away and pass them after being seen once. But no. They're too powerful to defeat due to their non-stop attacks and Batman's extreme weakness to bullets. Also, no matter how far you backtrack, they will not lose sight of you at all. One thing I won't be losing sight of though is this game. A hidden gem and decent licensed game that feels like the inspiration to Arkham. From the use of gadgets, hacking puzzles, similar combat, and Batmobile levels that almost feel akin to the Bat-Tank from Knight. Not to mention that in itself, it's still a fantastic game, and I would highly recommend it to anyone if you can look past a few flaws from its age.